Hi guys, this is Katrina. Thank you for tuning in to Immortal Dynasty Tarot. I'm going to be doing something a little different today, guys. I recently watched one of the craziest movies recently with my boyfriend, and I really felt like I should share my thoughts on this movie because there's so many layers, there's so many symbols, and it really did speak to me. That movie literally had me shook. So the movie I'm talking about is Us by Jordan Peele, and it recently came out. It's a horror movie, but to me, yes, it was scary, but there was a deeper level of what Jordan Peele was trying to illustrate through his movie beyond the horror. And I really wanted to get into that, guys, and discuss it. If you have any comments, please drop them down below for how you feel about the movie by Jordan Peele entitled Us. And let's get cracking. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're feeling this video, if it resonates for you. And let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little alert. If you haven't watched the movie, I suggest not to listen to this video because you're gonna get a lot of spoilers, okay? So the story itself on a surface level is about a little girl named Adelaide, and she is in a theme park in Santa Cruz, or amusement park, with her parents. And during this amusement park extravaganza with her parents, she seems very disconnected and out of it. You know, the relationship between her parents doesn't really seem like the best relationship, and you could tell that she's somewhere else. She's not really present, and she ends up leaving her father, who was supposed to be watching her, and went to this hall of, what was it called? The Fun House. And it was, I forgot what the tagline was for it, which was also important, but it was saying something about meet yourself or see yourself or whatever. And she goes in there and ends up seeing her doppelganger inside this fun house, a person that looks exactly like her. She's a little girl. She doesn't know what the heck's going on. And she ends up seeing her own self staring at her in this dark fun house where all the lights were cut. And then the movie fast forwards to Adelaide's life as an adult in the 80s with her own family. So at that point, she's told that she's going to be revisiting Santa Cruz again by her husband, as he would like to have a little mini vacation. And you could tell that she feels so anxious about going back there because of the traumatic event that she experienced as a child in Santa Cruz. And everything starts to unfold after that point, okay? So firstly, I wanted to talk about some symbols. So throughout the movie, we see 1111 constantly from beginning to end. And 1111 has multiple meanings. I actually have 1111 tatted on my finger. I've had it for years. It is an angel number, a spiritual number. It carries the weight of the number 1 based on numerology, which is all about leadership and the self. It also talks about the opening of a gate, opening of gateways, seeing 2 different realities, or that there's multiple realities that we're currently experiencing in this world. It also talks about synchronicity. And as you can see throughout the Us movie, there was a lot of synchronicities that occurred in Adelaide even meeting her own self, being led to the fun house, you know, feeling that the doppelgangers were coming closer and closer to her and her family. She can tell by the 1111 shown on the clock, you know, it's like spirit or universe or what have you was trying to bring the 2 together, and it was being depicted through the synchronicities of the number 1111 throughout the movie, okay? And to me, that means that 1111, the higher self and the lower self, or, you know, the people above and their soul selves below, were starting to get closer and closer together to meet. Also, speaking of which, the number 1111 talks about duality. So the duality of life, the fact that you and I, we're not just mind and body, we're also built of souls. We have soul. We have a connection to other realms, to something higher than ourselves. And we all know that. But, you know, the spiritual enlightenment couldn't be had to the people above because they were separated from their souls. I believe that the movie was literally trying to say that we are neglecting our soul selves. We're neglecting our everyday experiences and how we process them in our soul, because everything above in this 3D reality seems nice and dandy for, you know, the surface level that it is, what we see, feel, hear, touch, taste, what have you, seems very real. But on a soul level, they could be the very things that are bringing you down. They could be the very things that are stopping you, the things that are holding you down in fear or not allowing you to experience this 3D reality, everything we're seeing now, for its fullness of life, okay? The white rabbits. Okay. Seeing all those white rabbits was a little freaky to me. I don't have a problem with rabbits. I don't have a problem. But at the same time, the volume of the rabbits, especially towards the end of the movie, when the people below, underground, created this revolt, it's like the rabbits depicted this abundance, this manifestation that the people below conjured up. They conjured up their salvation. They conjured up and manifested their escape from the underground, their escape from not being heard or seen or to be taken into consideration from those above. So that was really interesting. Rabbits also denote a sense of fear and anxiety because they're very jittery animals, and they're always on the lookout. Always on the lookout for danger. So you could sense that with the people below, that they have been living in this life where they were locked off from society underground forever through this government experiment. And they were tired of feeling the fear and anxiety. You know, they were tired of not being able to use their creativity, to not have the abundance that their twins above were experiencing and taking for granted every single day. The white rabbit could also denote rebirth and resurrection, and that's exactly what the people underground did for themselves, the doppelgangers. They rebirthed themselves, rebranded themselves as, you know, this army in red, hands across America kind of protest, and they used their agility to create this new life for themselves, to resurrect themselves from below and rise above and take a stand for their lives, for their experiences. Also, when it comes to white rabbits, I noticed that white rabbits usually show themselves in a movie right before shit's gonna get real. You know, like they always show up in a movie fairly in the beginning, and then the person goes on the craziest, wildest ride or journey to finding knowledge or finding themselves, and they come out on the other side reborn again. So movies aside from Us that I was thinking about with the white rabbit in the beginning is The Matrix, when he saw the white rabbit on the girl's shoulder blade, and that's how he knew that he needed to go with them and start that journey to finding the truth or finding himself. And same thing with Alice in Wonderland. She saw a white rabbit and then she went down the rabbit hole and then she never came out the same again. There's this other world, 1111, another dimension that she experienced that was beyond her perceptive knowledge of living above, you know? Next, we have Jeremiah 11:11 as a symbol or sign. I'm not well versed with the Bible, okay, but I do know, excuse me, that this passage states, and it says, sorry about that, and it says, therefore this is what the Lord says, I will bring on them a disaster they cannot escape. Although they cry out to me, I will not listen to them. Y'all, like, take that in. So basically, that was Jeremiah 11:11 was on that sign that that man was holding in the theme park in Santa Cruz. It's almost like that man knew what was going on this entire time. And, you know, 1111 is there again, the duality of life. And in this movie, Us, depicting the fact that the mind and body and the soul were being severed and disconnected, one living above and one living below, without any knowledge of the other. You know, like there was no knowledge of the other until Adelaide went into the funhouse and was confronted with her own doppelganger, her own soul self. Okay? And I feel like through that passage, Jeremiah 11:11, the message could be that God is punishing the people above in the movie for not listening to their soul, for listening or worshiping materialism, capitalism, you know, worshiping otherworldly things that are not nourishing to the soul, are not advancing us as humans or people, and not allowing us to be happy, to truly be happy. Everything we have in this material life, it seems like it's going to fulfill us, but we still feel a little empty at the end of the day with all of those, you know, material pleasures or worldly pleasures. Look at celebrities. Some celebrities literally have it all, but at the same time, their soul is unhappy and they end up falling into this crazy drug abuse or overdose or, you know, erratic behavior, because you can throw money at something and make it pretty, you know, make it nice and comfortable, buy whatever you want. But if your soul isn't happy, if your soul isn't being fed, if you're not one with yourself, if you're not one with your morals or standards, you're not really living life in a way that benefits you as a whole, mind, body, and soul. Okay? So I feel like through this movie, God kind of brings our own personal dismay to us and punishment through the revolt of our souls coming after our mind and bodies above, that we're kind of misusing this life on an everyday level. Okay? The song, I Got 5 on it. This song talks about dope, okay? But on a deeper level, I feel like Jordan Peele may have used this song to depict the fact that we are all addicted to something. You know, you don't have to be addicted to drugs to have an addiction. There are people in this society, for example, Mr. Tyler in the movie, that was addicted to capitalism, addicted to making money and gains all the time, when his wife was an alcoholic and his twins, you know, were just out there with no direction, but all the luxuries in the world. So through that song, it's trying to say that we all have something that we need to work on. We all have a journey to go to get back to our souls before our souls or, you know, lower selves kind of revolt against us. The gold scissors. So the doppelganger army below was carrying gold scissors to cut off and sever their connection to the people above that they were connected to, their other half, okay? And that was really powerful because I feel like the souls or the people below were tired of feeling the shitty experiences of what the people above were doing, whether that's eating horrible foods for your health, whether that's not feeling true connection, you know, in a family setting, or bad relationships, or money hungry, jealous, vain, what have you, and the lengths you'll take to get to, you know, that place that makes you feel happy on a surface level caused a lot of pain for those that were living below, underground. And they chose to use gold scissors to symbolize the fact that they are severing the ties with their weaker selves above, because the individuals above were too susceptible to distractions and to lower vibrational energies that were holding them back from their true selves or not allowing them to live in a happy, abundant life. So by using the scissors, I almost felt like they were saying, we're open for business. Like, you know, when you use like big novelty scissors to cut open a ribbon before going into a new store or what have you. And I felt like that's the symbolism, except unfortunately they use those scissors to cut, you know, their twins' throats above or what have you. But that was very symbolic because the people below, didn't even have a voice to speak with. They had no voice because their voice was tied to us, the people above in the movie. They're supposed to work as one. And as you recall, the government didn't experiment to separate. Sorry, the government didn't experiment, and they found a way essentially to separate man from his soul. And therefore, at that point, it's easier to, as a government, to control the people above with, you know, minuscule distractions, money, you know, what have you, and all these vices, and to never have the man connected, or men and women connected to their soul again. It's really easy to distract something that has no morals, has no soul, isn't connected. So that was real interesting. The red suits that Red wore and the people underground wore, the doppelgangers, I felt like that was interesting because all of the red, and it was such a bright, vibrant red. Red usually denotes passion, sometimes anger, and in this case, blood, okay? They were out for blood for the people living above. And beyond all of that surface level shit, guys, I felt like that was really speaking to the root chakra not being aligned for the people below underground. Their root chakra was completely out of balance. And the root chakra is located at the base of your spine. And it's the foundation in which all of your chakras are built upon. That's the first chakra, okay? So if your root chakra, which is dealing with security, stability, feeling grounded, feeling safe, is out of whack, everything else about you is going to be out of whack. And that's exactly what the people underground were experiencing, the doppelgangers. The fact that they had no stability, the fact that they were underground, almost a little too grounded, especially for a soul being. They were meant to be above, you know? And because they didn't feel that stability, the root chakra could also denote feeling a primal urge of survival, and that's more so when you're out of balance with your root chakra. So they had to take a primal survivalist approach to kind of gaining their lives and their freedom back. And that's what they did by organizing, or Red organizing, the Hands Across America movement, their revolt, their freedom to living above, okay? And to severing the ties with, really, in my opinion, the lower vibrational energy. I think the people that were living above were lower vibrational energies. The government chose the people with only mind and body to live above so that they can be controlled, like mentioned in the movie. And the souls were subjected to living underground in a bleak, dark, hopeless underground space where they couldn't grow and flourish and make change, or to not, you know, fall into the traps of what the government was planning for the people of the movie. Okay? And like they took this Hands Across America approach. It's like this huge protest that our souls are having against us living above. They're protesting the fact that they were ignored, malnourished, and mistreated and forgotten about, just like, you know, the homeless for the Hands Across America movement, and that's why that was started. But for them, they were just using that as a way to show the world that they're taking a stand and they're not taking it anymore. They're not going to be subjected to being ignored or mistreated, and they would like to take our place above, because I'm sure they feel that they would be living life in a much different way if they were given the opportunity to, okay? Because they were forced to live the life that the people above were living. As you can see, there is a link between the two, 1111. And for the most part, all the scenes from underground where you could see the duality of above and below, they didn't seem really happy below. The only time that there was this like synchronicity and spark was when Adelaide started dancing, which led her doppelganger Red to start dancing below. And it inspired people above in the audience, and it truly shook the foundation and inspired the people below to even start this revolt, okay? So that was really, really interesting. So what I found also interesting about the movie, guys, was the fact that Adelaide and Red, I guess, they're connected. But Adelaide was the only person that saw the duality of life. She saw above and she saw below. She saw her two selves. And I think that changed the game, really. She was the only person that, like, had her family survive. She helped them get through this entire takeover from the doppelgangers below. And you know, like, Adelaide kind of strikes me as the high priestess in the tarot. And the high priestess is number 2 major arcana. It's depicted by water sign Pisces or other water signs, Cancer, Scorpio. But the high priestess is someone that is very aware of the underworld and aware of the current existence that we see every day. The high priestess has a lot of secrets, has so much knowledge that can't even be explained to most of us, you know, like, and Adelaide is that girl. She is that woman that has seen below and above. And it's so interesting, like, seeing the back and forth between Adelaide's experience above and below. So for example, when she was in the amusement park in the beginning, and her dad was acting all extra and weird, you know, like showing her the shirt, getting her something that doesn't even fit. And the mom seemed extremely perturbed. And you could tell that she was very disconnected from what was going on, you know, like somewhere else in her mind. But when you see the experience of Red below with the same scene in the amusement park, you could see that her dad has this energy of mockery. It's like he's mocking the whole situation. You could tell he's feeling really erratic and out of control inside. It's almost like he has to hold himself hostage in that situation. And he's not used to being, you know, the family man possibly, or responsible. And you could tell that really bothers and burdens him. And his way of dealing with that was drinking, which was making him more erratic. And, you know, not really taking his responsibility seriously, which led to him losing his daughter and her disappearing. And the mother above, she seemed very concerned for Adelaide's well-being, but you could tell that she was really annoyed with her man or partner or ex or whatever he is to her. But below, you could see that the look she shot Adelaide or Red, same person, the look she shot that little girl, when above she was like looking out to see if she was following them, you know, like to the right place and being safe. Below, it looked like she had this huge sense of anger and resentment towards her for being in this situation, for tying her to this man or this life or whatever. It's just, you could feel the energy that the mom was trying to shoot and throw at her. And I think that's why Adelaide seems so disconnected above, because she was very connected to her soul self, her inner self, at a young age, and she was aware of the duality. She was aware that even though on the surface she's seeing, you know, an amusement park, her mom's a little mad but chilling, and dad's being extra, to her heart and her soul core, through her intuition, she could feel what was happening down below simultaneously. Two realities running at the same time, 11:11. Okay, the gates opened for her alone. And yeah, like, that's why she seems so disconnected, because, and especially as an empathic person, I think this movie truly illustrates what it feels like to be one with your intuition, or highly empathic and intuitive. We all have that gift within us, but some of us have it a little stronger than others. And speaking from my self experience, I'm an intuitive and I'm very empathic. And sometimes in waking life, you see what's going on the surface, just like Adelaide did in that amusement park, but you can feel the energy and the vibration of what's happening below on a visceral level, what energy people are bringing to you, despite the smiles, despite what's going on. Sometimes what's happening above and what you feel to your core are two different things. And, you know, empaths are very misunderstood, because like Adelaide, they seem sometimes disconnected. They could be loners or people that are a little antisocial. But at the same time, there's a reason for that, especially when you have the eyes and the sight and third eye, you know, to actually see what's going on beneath the surface all the time. And it could be a lot to experience and to process and take in. But that's what Adelaide was going through. That was her experience. And to be confronted with herself and then switch so that Red was living above and Adelaide was living below. I think that's why, you know, so many pivotal events happened and how the people below were able to revolt and organize. And it was because of Adelaide and Red. And without Red's dance, without Adelaide starting the chain event of her expressing herself and dancing, doing something that she loved to do that set her soul and her body and mind on the same path, Red wouldn't have been inspired or wouldn't have been seen as a leader from the others below, underground. And because of that inspiring dance below, she was appointed to be the leader of the people underground and to lead them into salvation. And I think that's the connector here. The connector, guys, is that, are you doing something? Are you dancing? Are we as people dancing? Are we living our soul purpose? Are we doing what we're meant to be doing? Are we following our own personal journey? Or are we kind of being distracted and being led astray and allowing that to happen every day? Because if that is a yes, then your soul is crying out to, you know, be nurtured, to be acknowledged, to, you know, be heard. Your soul doesn't have a voice. And I think our souls move through those expressions of life, through dance, through art, through writing, through whatever it is that makes you happy and that you're very passionate about. And that was the only time that Adelaide's two selves were connected in one, as one, mind, body, and soul. And I think that's what the government in the movie was trying to stave off. They didn't want that, because if that happened, then, you know, the government wouldn't have as much power as they have been having, because you're one whole person and you're not going to kind of swallow the agenda willingly, and you're going to be more analytical of your life and what makes you happy and choosing your own individual path rather than the path of the crowd. Okay? You can clone the body, but you can't clone the soul. That is definitely a quote in the movie, and that's exactly what the government did in the movie. And it was just a beautiful, like, it was such a great depiction. It really had me shook, guys. You have no idea. That movie had me shook on so many levels, because the message that Jordan Peele's really trying to bring to us is to wake up. Wake up, live your life, do what you have to do, stop ignoring your soul urges, stop ignoring who you're supposed to be or your path because of fear, because of distractions, because you think you can't do it, or because you had a child, or because you got, you know, like some whatever. You can do what it is that you need to do, and your soul is asking and begging you at this point to live it out completely, to live out loud. Okay? And like, in terms of the duality again with Adelaide and Red, it was interesting hearing Red's perspective of, you know, Adelaide receiving gifts and like enjoying those gifts, but then for her, when she got those gifts, they broke her hands, you know, they broke, it was like glass. I think she was mentioning it was like glass cutting her fingers. And, you know, she got married, but she didn't choose this man. You know, Red was saying that she had no choice in this pairing, and she was forcefully kind of wed to this man who she didn't choose, and she had to be then connected to someone else's lower self, you know, that may not have been the best decision for her, you know. And you could kind of see that above too. Like, her man was not very present. He was only concerned about kind of keeping up with the Joneses. He was concerned about his image and his family's image, and not really about each individual person and what each individual person needed in the family. Okay? Going to Gabe, or Gabriel, the Adelaide's husband, his doppelganger's name was Abraham, which I find interesting because Abraham in the Bible was the father of man, in a sense, and he was given a test by God, I believe, to sacrifice his son. And God kind of was like, nah, it's okay, you're faithful, like I believe you, I believe in your faith. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong down below, guys, but what I found interesting about Gabriel is, again, he was kind of passive and submissive, all about himself, but his doppelganger below, Abraham, was blind. Like, his eyes were completely black, and I found that so hilarious because it's true. Above, Gabriel acted like that. He acted very blinded to life, to his family's emotions and experiences. Like, you know, you could tell that his wife was not really interested in being friends with Miss Tyler, Kitty Tyler, but he kind of drags her along anyway, you know, to be subjected to someone that's kind of superficial and materialistic and not really someone that is real, you know, someone that only cares about the superficial, and that was not his wife. And you could tell that the twins didn't really take any time to get to know the little girl, Zora, their daughter, and they were making fun of their son. Like, this was not the best pairing for, like, you know, family friends, you know, but you could see that Gabe kind of forced that situation probably for years now. And all the while, Mr. Tyler's kind of a douchebag. He's kind of a douchebag. Like, he only cares about himself and his money and what he can afford and flashing it around. And, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, why was Gabe even friends with this individual in the first place? Excuse me. And it just lends to the fact again that Gabe and Abraham were blind. Like, Gabe above wore glasses, and Abraham below, his eyes were completely blackened. And I feel like that's denoting the fact that he has no sight. He has no gift of sight, and he can't see what's really going on at any time, like, because he's too concerned with himself. Like, he's lost that gift, you know? And, like, you could see it through not believing his wife when she's, you know, telling him something so personal and something that caused her a lot of grief and pain in her childhood. He didn't believe her, you know, like his child, Zora, the track star, saying that she doesn't want to run track anymore. Denied, you know, like, he's like, no, like, I don't care. And he doesn't really interact that much with his son either. So it's just like, he has no sight. He doesn't want to see. He purposely does not want to see. And that was really unfortunate for his character. And that he didn't feel like the head of the house. He didn't feel like he was the stability, and he wasn't leading the pack. He wasn't leading his family like the head of the household should. So again, like, there was a lot going on with his character. Yes, he was funny. Yes, he was the comical relief, but he was kind of lacking. And that almost makes me think maybe Adelaide chose him purposely because he was so short of sight. So then she would be able to blend in this, you know, above life without having any questions asked or being prodded about what she knows or seen as a freak for her differences, because her husband is so out of it that he wouldn't be able to tell. So who knows, maybe that was on purpose. Zora, the daughter, again, like, their daughter Zora was a track star, but you could tell she was always distracted by music and listening to her iPod or kind of distancing herself, you know, and she didn't want to run track, but she was kind of forced to do that. And her doppelganger is called Umbre. And Umbre means shadows and darkness, okay? It could also be the dark central spot of a sunspot. So it's like she shines so brightly. She has so much gifts and talents, but she was just kind of always dragged down and told what to do. And she's living this life that's not authentic to who she wants to be, okay? And her doppelganger was just playing with her, menacing her. Like, you know, making her run for her life, literally making her run for her life. It's almost like she was using the track and field against her to tire her out or wear her out, because that's how the soul felt. Like the soul was like, yo, I don't want to run track. This is not what I want to do, but you make me do it every single day. And you know what? I'm going to use this against you now, because we're not living out our purpose. We're not living out our dreams, and I'm going to make you pay for it, you know? And, you know, all the doppelgangers had the scissors, and they were trying to untether themselves from the people above. So that was interesting. And it's interesting to see Zora's fall from, you know, cool, calm, collected, chillin' teenager or preteen into someone that's like completely barbaric, you know? Like she was just talking about her kill count and how she should be driving the car and, you know, killing left, right, and center inside the Tyler's home. And you could see that her and her brother were getting completely desensitized. Even the parents, Gabe and Adelaide, they were not flinching when there was bodies upon bodies around them. And usually that would faze people if they haven't killed before, wouldn't you think? Like, and again, like, I think that lends more to the fact that the government was successful, because they separated the primal self and the soul self. And so that's why we see this family and Zora kind of fall into this desensitization and primal urge to kill. And they were okay with that. You know, like they didn't feel any remorse. They were in survival mode. Okay. And maybe that's also why the Hands Across America movement that Red started was started, and that's why they were wearing red. It's like they were tired of feeling the survival mode and having their root chakra kind of imbalanced. So they wanted to bring that emotion and that feeling to the people above, because they never experienced that survival mode. They brought that feeling of survival and primal urge to them, because that's the life that the souls below had to deal with, you know, and they were subjected to that. So that was interesting. Okay. Lastly, the son Jason. Jason seemed like he had ADHD or some sort of mental thing going on. They didn't really disclose it much. They kind of just skimmed over it as he doesn't really pay attention. He's not very talkative. He was very shy and enthralled by magic, and he was not talkative at all. He would just say a few sentences here and there, but you could tell the kid's very observant, okay? What's interesting is that his doppelganger's name is Pluto. Pluto is the god of the underworld. Pluto is also connected, I believe, to Scorpio, and in tarot, you know, I think of the tower, which is connected to Scorpio and Pluto. And like, his doppelganger basically denotes regeneration and rebirth, just like the rabbit, hidden secrets, destruction, going into the subconscious mind, death, redemption, change, transformation. Those are some words that describe Pluto and the god of the underworld. The god of the underworld kind of forces change by destruction. The god of the underworld doesn't really care if it's a neat, clean cut of anything. They just want the shift to happen, whether good or bad, so that you can elevate yourself beyond your limitations, you know, and to be stronger and more powerful. The Pluto's also connected in Scorpio to organized crime as well, which is interesting because definitely the doppelgangers or souls below created this organized crime, like this organized protest, this craziness, and started murking everyone and killing them. But I thought that was interesting because that tells me that Jason, the sun, and his doppelganger Pluto are spiritually guided. They're very conscious of and receptive to both worlds as well. Very much like Adelaide in her young life. I think he was just experiencing the same gifts and he wasn't aware of how to use them, nor was he, you know, really guided to express himself in that sense. It's almost like his family tried to water him down and treat him differently, not really taking the time to understand that maybe he's more advanced than he lets on, or he knows more than he lets on. But he was kind of ignored, and his doppelganger was wild. His doppelganger was kind of rampant. And maybe that's how he felt on the inside, that he was a ball of energy and expression, but he was always kind of mocked and told what to do and how to live, and almost like a child that was not aware, but he was more aware than people understood him to be, you know? And what I also found interesting was Kitty Taylor, which was the wife of Jason Taylor, or Tyler. Kitty Tyler. Her doppelganger was called Dahlia. And that made me think of the Black Dahlia. And I remember the Black Dahlia, like I think she has cuts across her mouth. She was a beautiful woman that was meant to be an actress, and she ended up being murdered through, I don't know if it was a serial killer, I believe it was. But someone killed her and mutilated her face. And I think that's what Kitty Taylor's doppelganger Dahlia was doing in the room. Like, she started cutting her face open and laughing and crying. And my boyfriend brought up a good point that, like, she was acting. And it was interesting because she did mention on the beach to Adelaide that she feels that she was supposed to be an actress, and that was her life's gift, her talent. But she ended up having the twins and having to kind of put that dream on the back seat or back burner and never revisited it again. So I think her doppelganger was upset because she knew that that was the expression that she needed to survive, her soul self, Dahlia. And, you know, she ended up also experiencing a lot of plastic surgery, which I think she was also mocking by cutting her face. Because, you know, above, Kitty could have been, you know, having plastic surgery and under the knife, but, you know, out of it completely with meds. But Dahlia below is not feeling the meds. She's feeling the cuts. She's feeling the slashes across her face and all the injections or what have you that's being done because of Kitty's vanity, because of her superficial sense of life and herself. And that subjected her doppelganger, Dahlia, to have to suffer, just like all the doppelgangers, okay, below. And she also wanted her husband to die and was kind of an alcoholic. Like, that couple was kind of alky-ish. They were constantly drinking, but again, that lends to the distraction, right? And not, you're feeling the disconnect of your soul, but you're trying to drown it with something else, okay? And they had all the riches in the world, that couple. They were very rich, well off, but still unhappy. So, again, guys, are you dancing? Are you dancing? Jordan Peele, thank you for making that movie. That was an awesome movie to chew on mentally. I love movies that allow you to think and go beneath the veil and to really deconstruct and really take in what's going on. I think that we all need to start dancing, people. We all need to start expressing ourselves and living out our true life's path, and to not be distracted by, you know, life giving us these little glimmers of hope, you know, but it's not really anything that's trying to advance us. I think we need to start taking into account that our mind, body, and soul need to all be on the same page, that we need to take our soul into consideration when, you know, it comes to our partners, when it comes to our careers, when it comes to raising our children, when it comes to being part of the society and showing humanity and kindness to one another. That is something that is the main focus for this movie. To not allow your soul to be separated from your mind and body anymore, to not be distracted from it, and to live life fully in peace, happiness, love, and abundance. All right? So guys, that was my take on the movie Us. Please let me know how you feel about it and what you found in the movie. Are there any other symbols or things that happen in the movie? Drop them down below in a comment. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Keep dancing, y'all. Bye.